There is a man hiding right now, not in a cave, not in a field, in a group chat where he reads every message but never responds, in a meeting where he knows the answer but stares at his screen, in an industry where he has the skills but keeps telling himself he's not ready yet. He's hiding, and the terrifying thing is, he doesn't fully understand why. You've been that man. Maybe you still are. And what's about to happen to him, what happened to Gideon, is not just a story about one ancient warrior. It's a precise psychological blueprint for what happens to gifted, deeply insecure people when the world suddenly decides to believe in them before they believe in themselves. Because here's the part nobody tells you. The win doesn't fix it. The validation doesn't heal it. And the moment you stop understanding that distinction, the cycle begins. 3,000 years ago, a man named Gideon was threshing wheat at the bottom of a wine press. Not at the top, where the wind could carry the chaff. At the bottom, hidden, because the Midianites, Israel's oppressors, would raid any food they saw in the open. That detail is everything. Gideon wasn't lazy. He wasn't incompetent. He was terrified of being seen. And when an angel appeared and called him a mighty warrior, his first response wasn't confidence. It wasn't humility either. It was confusion. My clan is the weakest. I am the least in my father's house. He said the quiet part out loud. That's what psychologists call the freeze response. Not fight, not flight, freeze. Dr. Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory maps this precisely. When your nervous system has been conditioned by repeated threat, real or perceived, it doesn't just push you into hiding. It makes hiding feel like the only logical option. Your brain interprets visibility as danger, and it will construct an entire identity around staying beneath the radar. And in 2026, the threshing floor looks different. It's the creator with 200 followers who keeps rewriting the same video script and never posting. The consultant who undercharges because charging what they're worth feels like a lie they'll eventually get caught in. The executive who shrinks in the boardroom while thinking twice as clearly as everyone else at the table. The entrepreneur who has launched 3 businesses in their head but 0 in reality. Imposter syndrome is not a personality flaw. It is a neurological adaptation. Your brain learned somewhere that being seen had a cost, so it keeps you small to keep you safe. The wine press isn't a failure. It's a fortress your nervous system built while you weren't paying attention. The problem is what happens next. At some point, something cracks open. For Gideon, it was a military victory, a moment where the outside world confirmed what his inside world had been desperately waiting to hear. You are enough. And something in the brain that had been coiled tight for years suddenly released. Here's the neurochemistry. When a person conditioned by chronic self-doubt finally receives external validation, the dopamine response isn't normal. It's disproportionate. The brain doesn't experience it as one win. It experiences it as proof of concept. Proof that if you push hard enough, if you perform loudly enough, you can outrun the version of yourself that once hid at the bottom of a wine press. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in The Body Keeps the Score, describes this as a trauma response wearing the costume of ambition. The body that once froze in shame now overactivates in dominance, not because the threat is gone, but because it found a new defense strategy. Visibility, now weaponized. Achievement, now compulsive. Every new title, every new milestone, every new public recognition becomes another brick in the wall between you and the version of yourself you refuse to face. You know what this looks like. The person who was once the underdog becomes obsessed with being seen as the authority. They stop collaborating and start competing. They can't let a room sit in silence without filling it. The humility that made them magnetic in their early days curdles into performance. The drive that once said, "I have something to offer," starts whispering, "I will never feel that small again." That whisper is the most dangerous sentence in a high performer's psychology. Because it is not a goal. It is a wound in disguise. Here is what makes the Gideon Paradox particularly devastating in the digital age. The algorithm rewards it. Every platform you use in 2026, every feed, every metric, every comment section, is a dopamine machine designed to amplify performative confidence. Bold claims get more reach than nuanced leadership. Declarations outperform questions. The loudest voice in the room gets more impressions than the wisest one. If you perform certainty, the internet will pay you for it. So if you are a person who spent years feeling invisible and you discover that the world will finally see you if you just perform authority, perform invincibility, perform the unshakable version of yourself, you will. And for a while, it works. The numbers go up, the rooms get bigger, the opportunities start arriving, but you're building on sand. Gideon defeated the Midianites with 300 men, refused the kingship graciously, and then, almost immediately, made a golden ephod from the spoils of war. An object that the Bible records became a snare to Gideon and his family, a monument to a victory that quietly told the world, "Look at what I did. Look at who I am now." Psychologists call this the compensatory self, a public identity constructed not from genuine character, but from the need to erase a previous, smaller version of yourself. And the problem with the compensatory self is its maintenance cost. It requires constant fuel, new wins, new validation, new proof. Because the moment the wins stop, the old question resurfaces. What if I was never really enough? And that question, left unanswered, will exhaust you long before your competition ever does. The persona becomes a prison you perform your way through every single day. When the person leading you is secretly running from their own inadequacy, you feel it, even if you can't name it. The decisions start becoming defensive rather than strategic. They stop asking for feedback because feedback feels like exposure. They surround themselves with people who agree and quietly sideline the people who challenge them. Because challenge to the compensatory leader doesn't feel like input, it feels like threat. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that leaders high in fragile self-esteem, those whose confidence is heavily contingent on external performance, made significantly more self-protective decisions during organizational stress. Not decisions that served the team, decisions that protected their image. Decisions designed to ensure that no one in the building ever glimpsed the wine press. In 2026, researchers are calling it burnout by bravado, the collapse of leaders who built their authority on projected invincibility, who spent so many years performing strength for their audience that they forgot to develop actual reserves. And when the pressure comes, and it always comes, there is nothing underneath the performance to hold the weight. The team fractures, the culture corrodes, the trust that took years to build disintegrates in months. Not because the leader was bad, but because the leader was never honest, even with themselves, about who was actually standing at the bottom of that wine press. And organizations don't just lose productivity when this happens. They lose their best people, the ones perceptive enough to see the pattern before it's named. Here is the uncomfortable truth that this entire pattern points toward. You cannot outperform your way out of insecurity. You cannot achieve your way into self-worth. Every external win you collect to silence the inner critic only feeds it, because you are using the wrong currency. The only move that actually works is integration, not performance, not suppression. Integration, which means you have to sit with the version of yourself that hid at the bottom of the wine press and decide that person was not a failure to be erased. That person was a beginning. This is what psychologist Carl Rogers called unconditional positive self-regard, not self-delusion, not toxic positivity, a settled, honest acknowledgement that your worth is not a variable dependent on your last result, that you are allowed to be uncertain and still legitimate, afraid and still capable, hidden and still chosen. The leaders who sustain influence in 2026 are not the loudest. They are not the most decorated. They are the ones who stopped needing the room to confirm something the room was never equipped to give them. They lead from a place that doesn't shift when the metrics shift. Their authority isn't louder when they're winning and quieter when they're not. It's the same, because it's sourced from somewhere the algorithm can't reach. Quiet authority doesn't mean silence. It means your actions are no longer powered by the fear of being found out. It means you can stay in the room when someone challenges you without reaching for a weapon. It means the version of you that wins and the version of you that loses sleep at 3 a.m. are finally the same person. So start there. Audit the drive behind your ambition. Ask yourself honestly, not rhetorically, but honestly, is this fueled by purpose or by the memory of a smaller version of yourself you're still trying to outrun? Are you building something or are you running from something? Because those can look identical from the outside, but only one of them lasts. Gideon's greatest victory was not defeating an army with 300 men. It was the morning he stood in the open, visible, afraid, undecorated, and chose to move anyway. That's the paradox. The hiding doesn't make you weak. The overcorrection doesn't make you strong. What makes you dangerous in the best possible sense is the willingness to become the same person in the winepress and on the battlefield. And it's the only part worth repeating. If this kind of psychological depth speaks to you, if you believe the most dangerous battles are the ones happening inside the people leading us, subscribe. Every week we go deeper. The mirror is always there. The question is whether you're ready to look.